able to see it. Cool.
It gets a notification on YouTube, doesn't it?
Yeah, it should let you know if you're subscribed.
I do have my own YouTube channel.
Oh yeah. How's that going?
8,000 and something followers.
Dang, good for you. That's what I'm working for.
Taking its time, lot.
You should be monetized though, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm working for.
Taking its time.
Could hear it.
Let me just mute that.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I have it going too, so I can kind of see the chat, but I just always mute it. Gotta love ads.
Are you guys going to summer over there?
Starting to, yeah. It's getting more sunny and less rain, so we like that.
Here we go again. Time is up and I'm calling up my friends. Ain't no wonder why, ain't no wonder I do. Here we go again. Call me up and you wanna be my friend.
Cool. You ready?
Yeah.
If you don't wanna change,
Was it doing loading?
Oh yeah, I just haven't switched over yet. Boom. Cool. All right, well, you probably heard us talking, but we're live, episode number 4 already. It's crazy. This is kind of flying by. My guest today is Laura. She comes all the way from Australia today. We met way back. Man, how long has it been? I'd say
Like 4 years now?
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. Oh, let me get you back up here. There's me and my beautiful wife. Boom. There we go. All right, there, you're up. Hey, Laura. Yes, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show. I was so excited to have her on today. Yeah, we go way back. She's an amazing person. She's done so much with her life, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for not only us to catch up, but for her to give you guys an insight on, you know, what another country has done and how they've handled through this pandemic, kind of like what we've been doing as well. So, yeah, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey guys. So I've got to remember too, if you've got a lot of American viewers, that my accent might throw people off. I remember when I came visited you guys, a couple of, at least 3 years ago now. The main feedback I got from the Americans was, slow down, we don't understand what you're saying. You guys are too fast.
Yeah, I remember that.
Here I was thinking it was going to be like, oh, do you guys have kangaroos as pets? But instead it was like, wow.
It was
you
the
guys
deer.
look so fast.
Yeah. I remembered all those nights because it was, you know, you, Shelby, Adrian, and Dominique, and then your mom. And all those nights when we were just sitting there, like, talking to each other, like, well, say cheeseburger, or say jumper, or, you know, just all these words. And it was so fascinating I had never met anybody from Australia before in my life, and it was just super cool to meet all of you guys, and have all you guys over here, because it was all of your first time in the States too, right?
Yeah, so we were learning things from you guys. We thought like raccoons just walked around and they're fluffy little things you could pick up and carry.
Right.
And there was like, we're like, oh, where do we find like all the American things? And
right.
then We brought Vegemite for you guys to
Oh my
try. That
gosh.
was
Oh,
the best.
oh. I think the only way I actually ate it was when you made those meat pies. That was the only
Yeah,
way that I could eat it. Otherwise, uh, I don't know how you guys eat Vegemite.
and that's the only way we don't eat it. In
And oh yeah, cause how is it normally? So Vegemite
so,
is how's it normally eaten? What's the?
so we normally just get Vegemite and it comes in a jar.
Mhm.
And we just have it as a breakfast spread. So you get up in the morning and you make your toast and you just get it out of the jar and spread it on with your butter on your toast and
Right.
you ate it. I remember I did make you Vegemite toast for
Yeah,
breakfast one day and you still struggled to eat that piece of bread.
that was tough. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect it to be that. See, to us, it's something like that is really bitter, like really bitter
Yeah.
tasting. And so first, when I first bit into that bite, I was like just thinking, okay, I'm getting kind of used to what this tastes like. And then as I kept going and I had another bite, it was so bitter to me, I just couldn't do it. And I'm not that picky, like I'll eat anything, as long as I'm not allergic to it. But I couldn't do Vegemite. I'm kind of disappointed I couldn't do it.
It was hilarious. And then
Yeah.
I remember we took it to the runway show and gave it to a few of the girls, and they were like, what is this? How do you make
Oh
this?
right, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
I think with anything, like you grow up and you, as a child, you eat whatever's put in front of you. So I
Yeah.
think for Australians, that is like one of our main just staples in the cupboard that you grow up and your parents just feed you since you're a baby Vegemite on toast. And
Right.
our palates must just get used to it.
Yeah,
But
that's true. It's like any culture. They have, different cultures have different spices and tastes and different food palettes, and you just get used to that. And I, I feel like in America over here, it's a lot of sodium, like salt and sugar,
mm,
and that's what we're used to, unfortunately. But
we're very savory over here. So like
yeah,
very, we're still with the salts, but very carbs over here, very plain
mm,
carbs.
yeah. I see Mom is already in here. I guess both her and John are here saying hello. So hey,
Hey,
thanks for coming by.
my
Um,
American parents.
Yeah, yeah, your American parents. So yeah, but no, let's get the show going. Let's just start it from the top. So you know the premise of the show, and basically what I'm doing is asking people what has life been like for you over the last 2 years during this pandemic, kind of from the start until today where we're at. How has life changed? What's affect you? Was it good or bad or both? So just take me to the beginning. Back in 2019, we were kind of talking about it was around the month of October ish. Towards the end of the year, there singing or seeing what was going on, and I remembered us over here, seeing all this and like what's gonna go on. It was a little bit weird, but I feel it was also kind of like we'd already heard these type of things before, so we didn't really expect much of it. And then as it kind of grew towards Christmas time, we were like, okay, this is kind of getting real. Like, what's gonna go on? So yeah, tell us how did it happen over there in Australia? Like, how did you guys first hear about it?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a good conversation because I feel that America was way more relaxed than we were, and I feel
Mm,
that Australia are very protective of their people and panic and very high worrying factors over here. So for us, Trent and I had organized like a week away. And it's something that we try and do once a year. We try and just travel because we're both obsessed with traveling in the world. We wanted to go to China.
okay.
And so we're very lucky now, looking back on it, that we didn't go to China.
Right. Yeah, I
Uh,
can imagine. Jeez.
so I
Mm-hmm.
think it was at the start of the year when there was no such thing as COVID. We had brought tickets to do the Great Wall of China hike. And Trent was so adamant that we had to go, and it was all perfect and planning. And then we had heard from our travel agent that there was a flu going around in China, and they were trying
Mm,
to say maybe people shouldn't go. You shouldn't go for long amounts of days for tours and hikes and things like that. And we're like, do you know what? We were here when we had the bird flu and when we had the big influenza outbreak years ago, and we're
mm,
fine. We've had our cold and flu shots. Don't worry about it. So then the
right.
lead up to we had a couple of weeks before we were supposed to pack all our stuff up and go do the hike, they contacted us and she said, no, we're actually going to step in now and actually tell you guys that you can't go to China and you can't do this hike for health reasons. The Australia government won't let it happen. So we're like, okay, this sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I feel that our news and our country doesn't really like to worry people and scare them. So we weren't getting the full story, which frustrated me in a way, because if there is a big pandemic happening, we want to know. But they kind of bubble wrap it all for us here in Australia. So we were just told that our trip was cancelled. There was a flu. There were a lot of people sick. I think Wuhan was one of the cities we were supposed to go visit. And they were like, no, you can't go at all. So they cancelled our trip, gave us our money back, and told us that we could rebook 12 months later.
Okay.
Trent was really upset for some reason, and it didn't click to me at that time that he was planning to propose on the Great Wall of China.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So that's crazy.
He was kind of annoyed that his whole plan was thrown out the window, and to him it was like, well, to us it was like, well, it's just a flu in a city where old people are getting sick, like what's the big deal? So anyway, March 2020, I think it was, we decided we'd still go away, and we went we stayed in Australia because we couldn't travel anywhere else. It was pretty much, they started locking out certain countries that we couldn't go to, and that's when we started thinking, okay, this is getting serious. We'll just stay within Australia in case something bad is happening, because we still weren't getting advised of this cold and flu virus that was killing elderly people.
Right.
So we ended up going to Queensland, so out of our state, up to the top of Australia. We stayed a week there just hiking and traveling around, and Trent proposed and we got engaged. And the scary thing for us was because we were so active on our week away, we didn't watch TV, or we stayed off our phones. There was no radio or anything where we were. So we were so oblivious to everything that was happening. Meanwhile, there was border closures. There were people coming back from Italy and America and China to our hometown, and they were really sick and causing these outbreaks everywhere.
Right.
So it wasn't until we flew home, kind of scared us. We flew back to our home state, and when we got in, they said, oh, you're lucky because in 2 days' time we're shutting the border. We're stopping everyone from coming back to New South Wales where we live.
Oh wow.
And we're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We stepped out of the airport, and the taxi that came to pick us up had a face mask on and gloves on, and had to spray the taxi before we got in and wipe the seats down. And we were like, okay, something bad must be happening here. They haven't told us the whole story. We got back home, we watched the news, and we were just in such shock that this pandemic had just massively come to life in the last 7 days we've been home. There was border lockdowns, there were people sick, and then they're really focusing not so much in Australia. We didn't have any deaths or anything like that. We were just advised that not to go anywhere, not to let old people go anywhere. If you have cold or flu symptoms, stay home, see a doctor. And then a lot of doctor surgeries were saying to people, don't come to me. If you've got cold or flu symptoms, don't come to me. I don't want to get it. So they were just closing some of the doctor surgeries around that didn't want to deal with it, and sending everyone to hospital. So I think the doctors were scared. They didn't know what this was.
Right.
We were scared because we weren't getting the full story. They were more focusing on stories around the world than our own country, like the deaths in Australia, the deaths in outbreak in China. So we were just panicked and also confused and not being told the whole story.
Right.
So I feel the lockdown came pretty quick. They weren't telling us much what was going on still, but we were all aware that there was this cold and flu virus outbreak from China that had reached our country and many other countries due to people still traveling. And then I think we're still going to work. It's hard also for Trent. For my fiance's job, he is a police officer here in Australia.
Right.
And they were required to work as is and to obviously not shy away from it.
Right.
And so it was hard him as well. They brought in new laws overnight about people, if they do have the virus, they had to be locked in their house. If you do have the virus, you had to be monitored and traced of where you were going. If you do have the virus, you've got to, isolate for 14 days. So we were paid well as a couple and as a family with kids that, your partner's going to work day today, where the rest of Australia has been told, don't go to work. You must now work from home.
Yeah.
So that was for us.
So that was, I was going to say that was it wasn't a kind of gradual, like, I feel like ours was a bit more gradual. Because I kind of explained to my other guests too that with my job, I had an office job, and we kind of played with the idea of working from home. So it wasn't like okay, because it seems like you guys, it was just like, nope, like this is here we go, here's your policies, go home, shut down, blah blah blah. But with us, it took I think a couple months to fully get everybody like home. And I'm not talking about just like my job, but like our whole country was like, we had that 2-week quarantine, but then things were also still somewhat lenient. So you could still go out and you could still go to your job and blah, blah, blah. But then, yeah, it was more of a slower ramp up. And then it finally got a few months later to complete shutdown, people losing their jobs, companies were shutting down. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think I worried about with like you guys. I always, keep up to date with you guys over in America and our friends and family over there. And we were so shocked that is America taking it seriously? Like, why are they still shopping and interacting? Or why are there people thinking we don't need masks, we're just going to keep living life as normal? And we're like,
right.
The pandemic is so bad and there's people dying in the streets. Why is your government and allowing people to still go to work every day and catch public transport without face masks and live your life where, we all see the news every day of the polls just going higher and higher and higher of all the people that are dying. Yet here's Australia, wrapping ourselves up in our cotton wool thinking, okay, we're going to be safe. We're going to do what our Prime Minister says. We're going to stay at home. We're only allowed to go to the shops for essential items. And everyone got a laptop and we're going to work from home. So we were worried about you guys. Just doing your own thing and
good old America, just doing whatever we want to do and
going out with your guns.
Oh man, it's that's the American way. Yeah, it's true though. It is so true, and that's what's, like you said, this is a great conversation to have with somebody from another country. I mean, we're literally a world apart, and you're right. I saw that too. I mean, me too. I'm definitely more on the lackadaisical side of what's going on. But at the same time, it is very real. It is here. And you do have to take the right precautions to, not spread it, to stay healthy, to be a good person. And there's just so many people here in America that feel, I don't want to use the word entitled, but they have that freedom to do what they want to do. It's very different. We definitely did it. It was more of like, okay, you have to follow these guidelines, but then nobody did it, and we didn't really have anybody enforcing that. Besides just the stores, like that's kind of the only enforcement we had was stores that, if you have to wear a mask, they wouldn't serve you if you didn't have a mask on. And then, but there were like, I'm sure your fiance can attest to this, is just there was the law enforcement side that, there was curfews. There was, areas of like more populated cities where if you were down there past, 10 p.m. or something, they would start to line the streets and make sure you went home and kind of all those things. But even then, I feel like it wasn't very strict on what they were doing. So
and not a bad thing against America, but I feel you guys are very strong-willed as we believe what we believe, and we'll do what we think's best for us.
Right.
Where in Australia, we're very policed by government. So we've got a prime minister who makes the rules, but also we've got Gladys, who is like the oh God, I don't want to get her title wrong, but she is our state member in Parliament that calls the shots. So every day we got into this ritual where every day at 11 a.m. there was a live press conference shown on TV, and they would announce how many new COVID cases there were, how many people were in ICU on life support, and how many deaths there had been. And
Right.
we got into this scary norm of getting up every day and turning on the news at 11 o'clock to see how many cases have grown, what next step were. And every day there was different rules. Like, okay, in a cafe that's, 20 meters by 5 meters big, you're only allowed 10 people. And, you must
Right.
have masks on all the time. And so there was always rules changing.
Right.
We got to a point where we hit this peak where we had, I think, like 2,000 people just in our state that had COVID. And that was huge for us.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think we had about 80 deaths, I think, possibly all up. And that was massive. As soon as we had the first death, it was, oh my God, this thing is real. It's going to kill people. Everyone do what you can at home. And
that's when everybody was buying toilet paper.
Yes.
So
everyone freaked out that the world was ending. They were going to be locked in their houses for weeks. But I think that's because the government kept saying, we don't know how long this is going to last. And, just stay at home until we can work out what to do. So everyone panicked. And then the sheep effect came in where, it's like the Armageddon. I better go get all the toilet paper and all the sauces and all the soups that I can get.
Right.
And then just people then fighting and tension and stress and scared. And meanwhile, what people didn't realize was there's little people in the world, our little like 6 and 8 year old kids that had no idea what was going on.
Right.
But freaking out because parents were freaking out and they had to adapt to this new way of life. And I applaud the children more than the adults. They adapted to it easily. They had changes happening at school. We had to homeschool for a couple of months, but then the ruling was that kids can't get it. So they all sent the kids back to school with hand sanitizers and all that.
Right.
And then we had this high peak for a few months where everyone, pretty much the rules were don't go out unless you need to, work from home, everyone's got a laptop, everyone's got internet, and the businesses were slowly dying, and that was sad. So many businesses have shut down due to people not going out and leaving their house, and that became the norm for us.
Right.
And I think just watching so many broadcasts from like Italy and the UK and over in America that they were pretty much saying to us, the Australian government were, if you weren't following these rules of staying home and only going out when you need to, then this could happen to us.
Right.
And that scared us, that panicked us. Anything that people thought, oh, we're going to die or this is going to kill us, really freaked Australians out. So the sheep effect came in when everyone did what they wanted, did what they were told and worked from home. So I feel in a way we're lucky that we do follow rules like that because we didn't get anywhere as near as bad as the UK. I think we had about all up in the whole of Australia. I think it was possibly 2,000 deaths. And that was it.
Right.
Where I feel for you guys that, America and the UK and things like that, they've had so many deaths.
And that's another thing on that too, is we don't, there's all these things with the United States happening now that, I'd say over like the last 6 months or so, because they were starting to rule a COVID death that wasn't really even caused by COVID. So that skews the numbers, and then that brings in the whole media projecting fear onto our country topic. And that's a whole nother thing that we could talk for hours about. But I feel like that's also, like you said, I haven't heard it said that way in a while, but it makes sense that you said the Americans were pretty strong-willed. And that's very true because we were, our country was built on this, freedom of you have the right to do what you want to do. You have the right to assemble. And it was very ironic to us that I feel like our country is more divided than ever right now, or especially over the last 2 years. And as you probably saw, it's really weird because then you have, certain sides saying do these things or don't do these things. And then you have the certain sides that are going out that are totally against, people that don't want to wear a mask. And if you don't want to get vaccinated, we hate you. But then they're going out and gathering in masses, rioting and looting and protesting. And it's just, it didn't make sense to us either because, it's this, we're in the middle of this big scary pandemic where there's all these people dying, but yet they wanted to go out to Portland, Oregon, where I'm from, and gather thousands of people neck to neck breathe the same air, and it
Yeah.
just it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that would have been scary for you guys as well.
mm-hmm.
For the fact that, you know, as you, I 100% agree with you when you said they then just started excusing different deaths and blaming it on COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Where here we didn't really go that far. We got to the point where people got COVID, they were tested for it, they were positive, they were moved into like ICU, and then it was a lot of the older people couldn't, like
Right.
breathing is what killed them.
Yeah.
And because our restrictions and lockdowns were so tight, pretty much everyone just stayed at home. We do, of course, in any country have the minority of people who were like, follow the rules and do the right thing. And then you've got the small amount that were like, no, I don't want to be told what to do. There's always going to be people like that in any country.
Right.
We did have like the protesters and that, but the police here were given such strong powers overnight to just arrest and fine people.
Right.
And we're the Australians, we're such tight asses. We don't like spending money.
Yeah.
Anyone who broke the rule was given like $1,000, another $1,000. You're not supposed to be there, $1,000. And
wow,
we all did that. So as soon as there was a reason why you could get a fine, everyone's like, I'm out. I'm just going to do what I'm told.
Yeah, see, that's a good comparison too, because I feel like we were opposite here in America. I mean, you probably heard this whole defund the police stuff going around, and it's crazy to think about, because in that sense, we had more citizens that wanted to go out and cause problems just for that reason, because they saw that our government was robbing our police force of funding, and then you're overworking police officers, you're making them more stressed out. They don't want to do their jobs, because then, as you probably saw, there's so many officers going out and lining the streets for these riots to protect people, but then they're getting lasers shined in their eyes and hit with bats and shot at themselves and all these things. And it's like, well, that's why we've lost so many good officers over the last few years, because they just don't want to go to work anymore. I know that Portland and Seattle are like among the top two right now. They lost like 60 to 70% of their force just on walkouts alone. It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that is nuts. So, but bring us now to, how is life with you guys now? Is things opening up back in Australia, or is it kind of still shut down?
Yeah, so we're pretty lucky. Things went back to normal in, I'd say, December last year.
Mm-hmm.
They started trying to get normality back, which was good, because at one point they were like, okay, for Christmas, pretty much just stay home and be with your family. No friends, no anything coming over. And we all got a bit upset about that. Like the whole state was like, no, this is Christmas. You can't cancel Christmas.
Yeah.
So they monitored it a bit and realized, but you know what? At the end of the day, they can't really control people visiting family on Christmas Day. What are they going to do? Call the cops to every house that's got family?
Oh yeah.
So government was like, do you know what? Just be sensible.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been following the restrictions that they put in place since last year about making sure we wash our hands, making sure we sanitize, wearing masks on public transport. So for the whole of last year, it was pretty much work from home if you can, sanitize, wear masks. And it was until probably January this year, they've stopped all of that. So for the last 4 months, we've been living pretty much back to normal. People regarding workplaces, like office work and stuff like that, have been like, well, do you know what? We worked from home for the last 12 months. If you can still work from home, but you're welcome back to the office if you want to work in the office. So we've become very flexible now. I think last month they've said no more face masks are required at all.
Wow.
Which
That's
is
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much back to living normal. People are still wary. They're still saying, keep distance of people in crowded places, the whole 1.5 meter distance thing. Just make sure you wash your hands good and sanitize. But other than that, it's gone back pretty much back to normal. Only because our economy was really falling apart and businesses were just shutting down, and it was so sad. There was just people on the news crying because they couldn't serve 100 people in their cafe. They were limited to 20. That wasn't paying their bills.
Yeah, that's super sad.
Yeah.
We had that here as well. so many business owners, you know, well, and see, that's the thing with the Americans that I think made everybody so angry, was that we didn't understand how all the small businesses, that's where they sent the government into, all the health inspectors saying, oh, you have a small restaurant, you have the small business, well, you can't have these people, or you got to shut down because, you know, you didn't have this plexiglass window. But oh, Home Depot and Walmart and all these big giant billion-dollar corporations, yep, they can just stay open, and you can shop there, but you can't go to church either, you know. And that's a big thing too over here, people and their religion. It was just, yeah, super inconsistent with, I think, how our country was handling things. So, but I think that's really good that you guys are getting back to normal. I can't tell you how frustrating the mask thing is. Like I'm really. You guys still wearing masks? Yeah, we are. It's I know there are some states now that are quote unquote mask free, and that's just in public areas. But, you know, say you go to Target, you know, and you want to go shopping. If Target, the company, wants to still enforce the mask policy, they have the right to do that. So, you know, you have to go wear your mask in there. But otherwise, you know, if it's a small business and they don't care, or, you know, say the Walmart there says you don't need a mask, then you don't need it. But I'd say still the vast majority of the states here, and up here in the Northwest where we're at, it's still pretty much you have to wear a mask everywhere you go. But things are opening back up. So now the restaurants are opening back up. You can go sit down and eat rather than having just to get to-go orders, you know, things of that nature. So we're getting there slowly but surely. It's just taking us a lot longer.
For our country to show on our news is, I wish they focused on other countries as well. So every night at 6:00 we have our national news on, and it's just about everything that's going on that day. But we don't talk anymore, I've noticed, about how many people have died or the COVID cases in the UK, in America, and things like that. So we're in the dark a bit about like that. The good thing is with us, we've had no COVID cases for the last month here. We've had no deaths since, I think, like last year.
Oh, wow. That's good.
So we're COVID free. Like, Australia's very good because we all follow those rules and, you know, we do what we're told. I think Queensland had a case last week, and straight away, as soon as one person, and it's coming from all the international travel that we're trying to get home. And out of the 200 people that got off this plane, one person had COVID. So they shut down that whole town for 3 days.
Wow.
No one was able to leave or do anything for 3 days. And that's how we fixed it.
Right.
Like, that person would then go into hotel quarantine for 14 days. They get tested at the start and at the end. And then once they're cleared, then they can go out into the public. But if you've got COVID, it shuts that whole town down for at least 3 days.
Wow.
And then that's how we feed it. We like kind of phase it out. So at the moment, we've got no cases. We've got no deaths. We've got, we're COVID free.
Wow.
But how are you guys going in America? If you get a case of COVID, do you lock down that state, or does that person go into quarantine?
I mean, that's really good for you guys. It's funny seeing how, well, not funny, it's neat to see how, I guess, you know, you put those health and safety measures to work, and then they work. With us, so to answer your question, it's just super inconsistent. There are, I feel like daily, there are just more reports of either cases rising or drastically dropping. It just depends on who's doing what. You know, like I said, like across the street, you say you got this business and this whole place that's enforcing the rules, do this and do that, and they're dropping. And then you got the other people that are just, they don't care. They're not wearing masks. They're traveling. They're spreading it, so to say. But then again, you have states like Texas and I think Arizona now, and a few other ones that are completely open, no masks, and the cases are drastically dropping because people are not getting as sick, if that makes sense. And like Florida is a big one too. But I know that, you know, there's so many people that travel out of America that we keep now the thing over the last few months is the mutations, you know. So there's like the different strains now coming over from different countries, and I don't know, it's just a big jumble over here. I feel like that we're still not getting it figured out. I feel like our government is failing us, and it's a mix of like the government not really making up their minds what they want to, like, do they want to be super strict and enforce it, or do they want to like kind of tell us what to do but then let us do what we want to do, if that makes sense. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then like I said, you got people literally on both sides. You got half our country saying, "Nope, I'm never going to get the vaccine. I don't want to wear a mask. I want to live my life. I'm totally fine and healthy," and it's true, like it is. And then you have the other half, that are super locked down and getting vaccinated and wearing their masks and taking the precautions. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
is
I feel for you guys because there's so many directions of how to go about it, but there's so
right.
many people who want to do their own thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the big controversy question is, we've just in the last month had the vaccine brought in.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to get the COVID vax?
For me, personally, I am unsure. I'm on the fence. I support the idea of doing the right step, like whatever it takes to get us back to normal life. Because the way that they're talking about this now is like the flu. Like you get your flu shot every year. It's gonna be like that's what I feel like the vaccine's gonna be. You're gonna have to get a COVID shot every year, just like the flu season, right? But at the same time, so like I told you, my wife and I, we want to have kids. And just on my own opinion and my personal research, there is nothing to support what's going to happen to people right now with the vaccine. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about the long-term effects of it. So
Yeah.
there are definitely short-term effects that are coming out, and we all know about what it can do and if it makes you sick or not, right? And I know a lot right now. I think the biggest thing is just it's a on-site reaction. So like wherever you get it, if you do react to it, it's making you kind of feel, because you're getting the virus essentially. And
Mm.
so yeah, it'll make you feel like crap for a few days, and then people are recovering and then they're okay. But what I'm talking about, like I said, so like when my wife and I, we want to have kids, is that going to cause birth defects? Is it going
Yeah.
to, it's like, no, we don't really know that yet until I think a few years have gone by. So my
Mm.
wife as well, she doesn't want to get it yet. I don't want to get it yet either. And especially with me being high risk, because I have asthma. So I'm pretty sure they've even told people with the respiratory issues to not get it because they don't know how it's going to affect you.
Yeah. So I'm very much the same. Like I'm very I'm very like organic, and your body fights off diseases itself. We
Mm,
have our own immune system and white blood cells and things like that. So when
right.
they brought out the news that they're bringing these vaccines over, it's like a vaccine that was created within 6 months, they're going to put into everybody and hope for the best. I was just like, no,
Yeah.
for me, it's a no personally, because I feel that there in 2 years' time, as you said, there's going to be side effects that could come out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you guys know already, but the vaccine that we've been using, a lot of people have been just jumping on the bandwagon and like, okay, it's a free shot, I'm going to get
Right.
it. It's been broadcasted last week that this vaccine is causing blood clots in people.
Right. I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is another thing about why I feel it's very unknown at the moment, because they wanted to, I think they said 300,000 by the end of April they wanted to have vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
We've only had like 60,000, I think, at the moment vaccinated.
Right.
And I think it's only a small amount of people. I think it's only about 10 people or so, but they've appeared to have blood clots. And when it first came out, they're like, oh, no, that person's just sick, or that
Yeah.
person's had an issue before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
And then another
pre-existing stuff they said contributes to it, but yeah, I
right.
know where you're going with that.
People that have had the shot and have had this blood clot. And the thing that pissed me off was our Prime Minister got on the news and said, look, it's serious, but it's not life-threatening, so don't panic. I was like, do you know blood clots can travel to someone's brain and cause
Right.
aneurysm? You can stop someone's heart. So this is pretty
Yeah.
life.
That's how my
So,
grandmother passed away. My dad's mother. Yeah,
yeah,
I think I was telling you about that she did have lung cancer, and she was fighting that for quite a while, for years. But what contributed to it was a blood clot. Actually, I think my mom's still in the chat, but she can correct me if I'm wrong. But it formed in her leg, But a blood clot can kill you, and so that ended up stopping everything, and that's what killed her. So it's like, yeah, if I'm seeing that this vaccine is causing blood clots, or even just like I said over here, the biggest thing for us is it literally you're getting it, so it's making you have the symptoms of getting COVID. So for
yeah,
me, it's like I'd rather take my risks out in the real world with my own immune system, with no, and to fight it naturally, because that's the best way your body can overcome things.
Yeah.
So
it is a hard topic. A lot of people are like, well, this is what's best, and government's and then I really feel sorry for people like Trent, like my partner, because they're frontline, and the government has pretty much said to them,
you have to get it.
At the moment, they haven't enforced it, but there's been talk that you want to keep your job, you'll get the vaccine so that you're safe. And I was just shocked about that. I'm like, you're pretty much blackmailing someone to go and get this vaccine that has not really been around for 12 months yet to know of any side effects.
Right.
But you're forcing people either get this vaccine, whether you like it or not, or lose your job and not be able to pay your mortgage.
Right.
So that's what annoyed me the most in Australia with this whole vaccine. They're pushing people to get it. They're not really focusing on the side effects. If a side effects does come up, that's someone's, reoccurring health issues.
Right.
So at the moment, I've said no. I want to wait it out a while to see. And a good example was last week. An elderly lady had the vaccine and had a blood clot and got really sick. And then they said, it's just because she's old. And then a 30-year-old and 28-year-old got the same blood clot issue. And then 24 hours later, they stopped the vaccine for a whole 2 days to investigate it.
And see, I think that's the biggest issue right now. And like I said to you, it's pretty much a no for me right now too, because not only those scary things that can happen to you, but like I keep going back to my wife and I having kids, we don't know. There's no way to know. I don't care what they say. I don't think there's a way to find out until people have been vaccinated and have become pregnant, and then the kids are born, and then they get to see what actually happens to them. And that takes years, years, not 6 months. So, wow. Yeah. Well, that's insane. I know that it's very different how our countries have been handling it, but I think at the end of the day, we've all kind of ended up in the same boat. I do feel like you guys, though, have done a very good job, because according to, if we want to say the numbers are accurate, I don't think they are, but it's way different over there. And you guys, I feel like you guys have done a great job at doing that. And I'm glad that you're somewhat back to normal. Now it just sounds like you're battling that vaccine topic.
I feel for you guys as well. You guys, I feel, have a lot more rights over there. Where we're very government controlled here by what the police and government have been told to enforce is what we abide by.
Right.
And we don't really have like riots and people disagreeing with the law, because at the end of the day, you do what you're told, otherwise you go to jail.
Right.
Where I guess over in your country, you guys have like freedom of speech and guns, and where a lot of people, if I had a gun and walked down our street here, I would be locked up in an instant or shot at because that's very rare here. So to us, we are defenseless in this fact of I can't get my whole group of people in my street to go and protest down to Parliament to say, we want this, and you can't tell us to stay home. So I just arrest us and be like, see you later, go to jail, or here's your fine, home, and stop carrying on.
And in a way,
you have that power because everyone has something to, carry and voice their opinion.
And I feel like to me, I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, that's almost a scary thing, because you're being controlled by the government. And with our nation, when it was founded, is you probably know the history of America. It was founded by the forefathers, and then they knew that someday, like, the government is supposed to be controlled by the people. It's supposed to be an organization to help the people with laws and taxes and all these things. It's supposed to help us. And obviously, they knew that someday it would flip. They knew that these people of power would end up wanting to control the people. And that's where we are. And it's been that way for quite a while. And so, it is hard, because at some points it does make sense because if you could take a gun away from every single person and 100% assure that nobody would ever commit a murder with it or shooting or use it for something that they're not supposed to, that'd be a peaceful world. But that's never going to happen, because guess what? Criminals don't follow laws. So, but you're right, though. Over here, there's so many, there was millions and millions more new gun owners over the last year. It's insane. So I don't think they're ever going to be able to take that away from us. And if they try to, it's going to get pretty bad. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I know you're running short on time and you probably have to get running to work soon.
Okay.
So
We've got another 10 minutes of chatting.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just real quick, I wanted to ask you for a little fun topic. How many bad drivers do you have over in Australia? Do you see them pretty often over there?
Hey, are you having a shot at me?
No, gosh. You're a good driver. You drove over here in America, remember? And it freaked you out because the steering wheel was on the wrong side and you drove on the wrong side of the road.
I think I drove better in America than I do at home.
That's funny.
Let's not ask Trent about my driving abilities
Okay.
because
Yeah.
always saying like, man, you're a bad driver. Australia, we are always in a rush. That's what I've noticed here. We're always in a rush to be somewhere. I said this to you when I went to America. I loved how everyone was courteous and had manners. People would just stop and talk to you in the street. Like when we went to that Walmart, I think it is that time.
Yeah.
And some lady was talking to me about, oh, your hair looks nice today. I was like,
Yeah.
this random lady talking to me.
It's funny to hear that because that's usually not how Americans are. But
It was
well,
like-
in areas, yeah. But no, I get you. So
Yeah. So
Well,
I
good.
feel in Australia we're so like determined. We've got somewhere to be. Everyone's always in a rush.
mhm.
We have a speed limit where I think 5% of people would stick to.
Oh wow.
And that being people over 60, I think would stick because they're worried about
Yeah.
getting a fine.
Right.
What comes after getting a fine?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
sorry, it's
No,
ring me.
You're totally good.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so there is.
Hello.
Sorry about that.
Hello. Well,
Hello?
you're good. I know the people trying to get a hold of you, but anyway, I'll wrap it up with you here. Thank you
Don't
for
go driving with me in Australia because
yeah.
I don't stick to the speed limits.
I don't think anybody does. People here drive too slow. So, oh man. Well, anyway, thank you again so much for coming on the show. I'll have to have you back on when we have some more time, and it would be so neat to have your fiance on and get his perspective of law enforcement over there.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to him about that. So, thank you again. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Let's all give Laura a hand and a thank you for joining us all the way from Australia. Super cool.
Guys, you can
Um,
contact me anytime.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to have you back on. I know there's some other things like your white ribbon that I would love to have you talk about. That'd be super
Yeah.
cool. But otherwise, I hope you take care. Hang out for a sec so I can catch up with you. But I'm going to end it there. Thanks everybody for coming by. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Yep, it's been a pleasure.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. I'll see you guys later.